This is Remembering Smallville,
a Smallville rewatch podcast.
I'm Daniel.
I'm Nicole.
I'm Kim.
And I'm Brett.
Season 1, Episode 2.
In this episode, a bug lover, Greg, has an accident involving meteor rocks and his own insect collection, giving him creepy insect characteristics and powers. Lana is in danger when Greg decides that she is the perfect mate to start a colony.
Ew.
This episode.
So this one is one that is engraved in my memory, like suffocation. Like that song, that's the only place I know it from. I don't know anything beyond what happens in the episode of that song, but it is in me.
So this is one of the episodes I have actually seen.
Okay.
Oh,
and
no.
I can't get his acne and his stoner eyes out of my mind.
And we decided that the bug boy looks like if Ryan Gosling and Christian Bale had a baby.
Yes.
Yes.
Ooh,
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Love it.
he's a pretty good actor, too.
Yeah, he did good.
Plays off the goober and then the creepy, and then he plays all of it really well.
Well, to start, the previous episode fades up to space and comes back down.
This is the first time we get previously on Smallville, you know.
And the first time we get to see the intro and the song.
Oh, that intro.
Oh,
And
man.
the iconic song.
Of course.
But we don't get the intro until even after the cold open.
Yeah, so we pick up with Lana going into her bedroom, and there's a little gift on her bed. She opens it up. Also, she puts these tiaras in.
Because she's still in her
She
homecoming
just won the
dress.
homecoming queen.
Yeah, and it's like there's all these crowns.
I like that about her. She knows she's pretty. She knows she's popular. She wins things, but she's not she doesn't
But
really
she's
care.
kind.
She's
not
so
trying
nice.
to show it off. Yeah.
Yep. So she looks at this gift. She probably hopes it's from Clark.
No.
Just
No,
kidding.
she totally thinks
I bet
it's
you
Whitney.
she thinks it's from her mom or from her aunt.
Yeah, maybe.
Oh, could be.
That's a
Because
good
she
point.
was just with Whitney.
Yeah, but you could surprise her. And then there's
But it's
the butterflies. in there.
butterflies.
Do you notice the bright green one?
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's the first
Clearly.
thing I noticed.
I know.
And then those glasses of the bug boy appear. He's
Oh,
sitting
buddy.
up in a tree filming her like a freaking creep. If you thought Clark was creepy before, this takes the cake for sure.
Way, way creepier.
Anyone
Whole
get a
new level.
McFly reference from Back to the Future?
Yeah.
Up
Oh,
the
a
tree,
bit, yeah.
just-
He's a peeping
He's a
Tom.
I
peeping
just think
Tom.
it's so funny he drives a Volkswagen Beetle.
It's
Agreed.
perfect.
Oh.
It's
Bug.
perfect.
Couldn't have done that better. I mean, it was too easy. Low-hanging fruit right there, guys.
I know, right? It's just funny. Of course, he comes home and his mom's watching one of the many things
It's
he's filmed of
voyeurism.
Lana.
That's the term, everyone. Voyeurism. And it's illegal.
Instead of finding naughty magazines in his bedroom,
I bet
she
his
finds
mom
out he's a creeper.
Was hoping.
Yeah, I bet his mom wished they were naughty magazines.
I love the way the mom is dressed. Her pearls. She's so prim, so proper.
Yeah.
Is the couch covered in plastic?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, the couch is covered in plastic. So clean. I love that she's like, we're sending you to military school. And he goes, who's going to take care of my
I
bugs?
literally wrote that
My
down.
bugs.
Who's going to take care of my bugs?
Okay, so let's
Gross.
talk about this, right? So he decides he's going to run away.
Uh-huh.
He packs up all of his bugs into his bug. But here's what gets me. He starts driving with his bugs and the glass breaks and the bugs get out and he starts to smash them on himself. And I'm like, no, those are your pride and joy.
They're hurting him.
You could argue that it's like the fight or flight response where he's like, when you experience an intense little pinching pain, you tend to slap at it.
That's true.
It's not that he's trying to hurt his bugs. It's like,
I just don't
But wouldn't you
understand.
pull over and you're like,
Exactly.
oh, my bugs are getting out?
Yeah, but then how is he supposed to hit a tree and
It's not a tree, it's a telephone
Or
pole.
telephone
And get
pole.
absolutely massacred by his
And the
bugs
thing
and
is,
turn into one.
there's so much kryptonite in that room. He get powers just
Did you
existing.
see him starting to inhale his bugs? He was getting high off of his bugs.
yeah, he's like
No.
looking through the
It's-
jar and they're just
guys,
like,
Oh, I get it now. That's why he looks so sick. He's probably poisoned.
Oh,
there's-
he really could be. He's
It's
around it
not
probably
it.
more than a
this
lot.
this episode is not it.
And then he turns good looking with his powers, but creepy.
well, yeah, it's because his personality doesn't necessarily change.
That's the cold open, is him getting bit, and we know something bad's going to happen. But should we discuss the theme?
Somebody
theme
say,
music?
Remy Zero.
oh, the nostalgia of that intro. I actually like the full song. If you haven't ever listened to the full song, you should go check it out because it's really good.
Ooh, I need to.
That's pretty good. I mean, now I'll hear it around, and it's funny because I'm old enough that it's classic now, so they play it in, craft stores, and it's okay for that to play in the background.
Does it
Elevator
really?
music.
Oh, yeah. They'll play this kind of music. But you hear it and you just go, you're right back into watching this. What a great song, and what an opportunity for Remy Zero.
Oh, I know, right?
Have you heard anything else by Remy
No.
Zero? Probably not.
I mean,
And-
I've gone and listened to Remy Zero stuff because of this.
But it's just like, this is what every band hopes for if they can get into a title sequence, is that this is how they
Oh,
make it.
yeah, for sure.
yeah, if the show becomes iconic enough, and this song is now iconic.
Thank you for listening to the Luther Corp Weekly Memo. All Luther Corp employees are encouraged to follow the Remembering Smallville social media pages to stay up to date on the latest Remembering Smallville news and policies. Follow us at Remembering Smallville on Instagram or email us at rememberingsmallville@gmail.com.
So after the opening sequence, we get flying over Smallville.
Hovering over Lana.
So now I have trust issues because whenever she's in the barn or the house, I don't trust that she's really there.
Is it just
Because-
his imagination?
Yeah. But I love this because guess what? He is floating for the first
I know.
time.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of love it. And then he breaks his bed.
I like it because I had this thought of his subconscious is more powerful because he's dreaming and he can literally fly. His subconscious is flying.
Oh.
He wakes up and falls immediately
Yeah, he doesn't know how to
because
do
he doesn't
it
know
on
how to
his own.
fly.
Yeah.
He doesn't know how to consciously fly, but
And they drop a hint. This is skipping forward just a bit, but they drop a hint about him being scared of heights. So I'm kind of excited to see if they go.
I think that's in reference to there's kryptonite everywhere. and it
Yeah,
makes
like
him
he didn't want to
dizzy.
go there because if
It
it
made
made him
him
feel
sick.
sick. But the young boy is like, oh, I'm just scared of heights, I guess. Like that must be what it is.
That makes so much sense.
Altogether, this episode, it really gave me a Buffy vibe. If you guys ever watched Buffy the
Yeah.
Vampire Slayer, it was very similar, that same feel that, this is sci-fi, it's superhero, but they almost wanted to give it like that horror movie approach.
Mm-hmm.
And so
Yeah.
you get that like, oh, creepy evil Spider-Man, can jump, I can do web, I can do all these things. And so you get the creepy Buffy vibe, but at the end of the day, not a whole lot.
Yeah, it's still like bright and happy.
Yeah.
Next, we get to deal with the farmer's market. I love how he shoves the nail in. And then, Whitney's clearly trying. I'm not sure if he's trying to be like actually kind or if he's worried that Lana will notice and he's trying to like keep face with her.
Option 2
You think it's
for
option?
sure.
Mm.
Yeah, because he's like, hey Clark, I need the nickels back. Like he doesn't care.
No, he doesn't feel bad for putting Clark on that bad boy. He
Mm.
doesn't feel any amount of regret.
And I
there.
just love how bold Clark is. Like, then you better go out to that cornfield and find it.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
Go for it, buddy.
Good
Love
on
it.
good on Clark being bold. And then Bug Boy
Greg
gets a makeover.
Yeah, he looks good. And I love, like, Lana is so good at date deflection.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And she is really kind. Like, she remembers who he is. It's not like a lot of girls like that might not even know who that boy was before. So that's kind of a big deal coming from her. She's just truly a nice girl.
Yep. And made the smart play, right? Public
Oh, yeah,
places,
totally.
public places.
Because normally a popular girl would be like, no, I'm too busy to do that. But she's like, oh, sure, but let's just do it at the library.
Mm-hmm. Whitney is just so insecure. He can't handle anybody talking to her.
Seriously, soups gel. I love that the farmer's market is like the happening place. Everyone is there. Even Lex is like, the farmer's market. Don't mind if I do.
That's
It's the
what you
thing that
gotta be.
happens.
I mean, is there anything that screams more small town than everyone's at the farmer's
I
market?
wish there was farmer's markets that were
Oh.
just more
I love
accessible to
them.
me.
Mhm.
You get Lex coming back. He really does genuinely want to be friends with Clark, but he does also have the ulterior motive of trying to figure out what the heck's going on with Clark. And so he keeps coming up to him.
So now I know exactly what you guys were talking about. I am in love with Clark and Lex's friendship.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
It's really good. And the dynamic gets better, and then the intrigue gets better. So it's
very
really fun.
good.
They're like super good for each other and help each other build.
And I feel like Lex is trying to prove himself, not only to himself, but like to those around him. He like respects the Kents a lot. I think Lex sees in the Kents what he always wished he would have
Oh,
had.
totally. Okay, so
100%.
there's this moment in the farmer's market when Lex bites the apple, and he's like clearly not happy with the apple, and then he like throws the apple down.
Really?
Yes, it's insane.
Oh my gosh.
Like and it's like one of those moments, and I'm just like, "Ugh, the apple. Like, Lex, what a scumbag. Oh, Lex, so rich. Can't enjoy a
Doesn't
normal
approve.
people's apple. You know?
What kind of pitiful apple is this?
Yep. And Lex is always making like references to the Romans or the Greeks or like some historical. So you'll notice that anytime Lex is talking to pretty much anyone, especially Clark, oh, well, in ancient Rome, oh, well, the Greeks always say.
Really?
I think that Lex starts to see himself almost like the big brother to Clark too,
Totally.
and he really wants to like take care of him.
And what a great writing technique, like the way it was written and then the way that they portray it. Like, you believe that Tom Welling is 6 years younger.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
You know, and
Good
they're probably
acting,
the
too.
same age.
Tom Welling acts naive and young,
Yeah.
and like
Trusting.
what happens next is we get into the bug boy attacking.
But first, he climbs the tree, and all I thought was, hold on tight, spider monkey.
Good Twilight reference for everyone
Totally.
there.
Just the way he like climbed in the speed, like the way that they show like the speed, it was just so Twilight. It just brought me back.
Quite
Yes.
honestly, it almost looked as good, if not better, than what we got in the Twilight.
Oh, yeah.
movie.
Mhm.
Well, yeah.
It's really sad. And then he like jumps on Whitney's car, knocks it over, and then runs away when another car comes along.
And of course it's Clark's car.
Yep.
And
And he's-
I mean, this is episode 2. So we have a full car explosion. 100% totaled car.
Oh yeah.
Giant explosion. Clark saves the day. I like how Jonathan's like, oh, I'll help. And he has like the world's tiniest fire extinguisher.
Yeah, and he
Like,
runs
he's gonna-
over.
like he's gonna do anything.
And then my
Just his
favorite,
truck
he
fire
just
extinguisher.
reaches over and touches Clark's jacket, which somehow is not burned, but is super hot still.
Because
Just,
it's touching Clark.
There's like
It's
ash
a
on
bit
it.
dramatic.
But I do love how
Slightly.
Clark's like, I just survived incineration?
he's like,
Okay.
oh, okay.
Well, I would think you would, especially if you stick your hand in a wood chipper.
Yeah.
What-
Well,
yeah, but-
Whitney doesn't have a single burn on him.
He envelops him
Yeah.
in his super
just like
arms.
bear hugged
yeah.
him. You know, I actually do like this conversation with Jonathan after, and he's like, "You better check on Mom. I think I freaked her out this time."
I love this because this is such a lie that TV tells. He's like, as your parent, I want to have all the answers. I should have all the answers. No, that's a big lie. Parents don't have all the answers. Okay,
Oh.
we try and we support, but no.
It's our first time doing this too. Like we actually tell our oldest this all the time. Like, it's our first time having a 16-year-old, so we're probably gonna screw
So
up doing
good luck.
that. And then even our younger kid, we're like, hey, it's our first time having a second kid doing this, and you do it different than the first, so we're trying.
Mhm.
And I'm here to tell you I screw it up every day.
And I like that Clark tells his dad, I was floating.
Yeah.
You know, to me, it's just so like teenage development. My body is changing. You know, like
Dad, I'm changing. I don't know about these changes. son.
exactly.
Yeah, and so right here you start to get the teen angst.
And he says, like, this is happening to me and I'm scared.
Mm-hmm.
And wouldn't you be?
Yeah, I mean, if you're like, I was floating, I can survive incineration.
Mm-hmm.
And then we get to see Lex again. And
He's more moved in. I think he's totally moved in. Before he was all boxes and sheets, and now he's all unpacked.
and I wrote a note in this scene where I was like, I just love the kryptonite sound. You know how it goes? It's like that shiny
That
sound.
shiny sound.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. And yeah, it's just so funny because like that'll be throughout the show. You'll hear that kryptonite sound when it affects him, and it's just great.
It was kind of almost like a nothing scene. There is nothing spoken. He's all by himself. He just necklace, put it in a box.
He
Right.
looks at it in the sunlight.
They just
and
don't
then-
want you to forget that he
That
has
he
the
has it.
necklace.
Has the
Mhm.
necklace, and he's putting it in this box. We're gonna find out in just a minute. Is made of lead.
Right. And then we jump into Lana riding a horse, and there's this moment when she's in the middle of the field, and it's totally the double. You can see it's like some 40-year-old lady.
It's like straight
Not
on.
her at all.
How big's your TV?
It's an
85
85 inch.
inch.
It's ginormous.
Yeah.
So I think when we were watching it back in our day with normal,
on
Oh,
this side.
standard
Smaller
definition. When we felt like it was big because it was
Mhm.
32 inches,
Mhm.
and
yeah, you were just like, sure, why not? But now it's pretty obvious that is not Lana. But we'll go with it.
we're good with it. It's okay. We know what you were intending to do.
Mhm.
But like Lex just is there,
In the barn.
and he's like this 21-year-old dude shows up to talk to this 14-year-old girl.
She's not 14. Lana,
It's
They're
the
in
same
ninth-
age. They're
They're in ninth
freshmen.
grade.
are we saying Clark's 14?
He's 14 right now.
I've been giving it like the maybe he's 15.
Let's go 15. That makes me feel a little better.
None of it's okay.
I mean, if he's
She was 40 on a horse a second ago. Can she be 15 in the barn?
if you do the math and everything, Clark is supposed to be 14 until like later in the season. Then he turns 15.
And Lex drinks, so
And
we
Lex-
think he's 21.
Yeah, well, he was 9 years old.
He was 9 in
when the-
1989.
Mhm,
And
this
now
is
it's
12
today.
Years, it's 12 years later, which is 2001. He's 21.
Yikes.
In fact, it's going to be really easy to keep track of Lex's age because he was born in 1980. And so whatever year it is.
Yeah. And
Just
I'm not
add 20.
saying that he's 21 and all CW shows they are 21 when they drink, because that's a big lie, but
Right.
Yeah.
Obviously, Michael Rosenbaum is also older than that, which, but he just shows up and he's like trying to again, figure out what's going on.
He says, I'm here to see your aunt. Where is she? And she's like, not here.
I think it's an excuse.
Oh, totally.
So he's trying to investigate the whole Clark weirdness and also play matchmaker. To just
He knew what was up. He found a necklace on her in a picture on Lana.
I just think
he's
if
just
I was
connecting dots. He's playing journalist.
well, sure, but if I was Lana and I had seen someone skinny dipping, that wouldn't be how I reintroduce myself. I would not bring it up.
It's funny.
I totally would. I love how she did it.
Well, it's bold, but I wouldn't. That'd be a thing that I was like, oh yeah, by the way, remember when you were skinny dipping with that hoe?
And you were 15
Well, if Lana's
Teaching her the
nothing,
breaststroke.
she's bold.
It
Yeah.
is.
in a very nice way.
I wrote a thought. Nell and Lionel? Question mark, question mark, question mark?
I mean,
Oh, maybe a bit of an affair in the past?
Yes, because we know how much I hate Nell. And
clearly.
if she would flirt with Jonathan in front of Martha, she would work a little something into a deal. Because she goes, she sold Luther Corp a ton of land. And what else? I have a theory now.
Yeah, I wonder about that. And she was attractive.
So and not Lex, Lionel, for sure.
Definitely. Good old Lex, playing investigative journalist in a way.
I love his sexy black he always wears.
Always.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's definitely good.
it's very sleek.
So good.
Listen, he makes all of us bald men out there feel like there's a possibility for us to be good looking.
You're not bald, Brett. What the heck? Just because you shave your head on purpose.
And it's really great, so keep doing it.
So now we get to see the Bug Boy's ugly
Greg's
side.
mother.
Okay.
Yeah. The house is all hot because that's how insects live.
Ugh. And
It's
then
disgusting.
his room makes any teenager's room look beautiful because, it's covered in cobwebs that he's shot out of his throat.
Are they
Mucus.
cobwebs or are they just blanket?
I know. Are they just batting?
From the dollar store. I cannot take this part. He talks about how insects eat their mothers.
Yeah, a pharaoh spider.
Yeah.
And then
can't.
just for everyone's entertainment, some excellent special effects to show him eating his mother. And by that I mean it's terrible. It looks like a kindergartner was drawing a spider web.
I know.
Oh
Over the
yeah,
camera.
over the screen.
It comes out of his mouth.
He says, first I'll eat, then I'll molt, then I'll mate.
Oh.
Barf.
He doesn't barf.
So gross. Well, kinda.
You have to decide in this episode which are the cringiest lines. And that was pretty close.
It's up there.
But I still think that who's going to take care of my bugs has
It's
to
good.
win.
I know. My bugs.
Mm-hmm.
When we get back to Lex's castle, I wrote down, Lex didn't receive gifts. He got lessons. That was his childhood.
Oh, I know.
Can you imagine that?
Okay, sure, he got this. Why does he have it now? In the house he just moved into?
I'm
Hey,
telling you, daddy issues. He probably keeps everything and is unable to let go.
This is pure Lex. I think when he's at the barn with Lana before, he already knew it was hers. He'd seen that picture. No, he'd already seen that picture in his own research,
Oh.
but he wanted it to seem natural. Same thing with this.
He calculates everything.
He calculates every decision, every conversation.
Even with good intentions.
Well, he says, well, where was your boyfriend? And she goes, with me. He goes, really? You should ask him.
You should ask him, right? And then
He's
so
planting seeds.
as he's talking about this Battle of Troy, of course he's kept it. But why is it out? Because he's going to have this conversation with Clark.
That's a
Let me
great
talk
point.
to you about
So
this.
true.
Let me give you your Trojan horse. He literally says this. You don't think that was planned? That's pure Lex. He's thought this all through, and that's how he operates.
And then he's like, hey, I just happened to find this. Here it is. You should use this in order to get the girl.
I love how the necklace lights up.
Yes.
It's just so good.
Whenever like they're talking about it.
Well, like, what is Lex thinking? Does he think there's more to it? Or does he think, man, he must have like some PTSD by this necklace because he was just hung up on that?
He's got to think something.
You know?
Yeah.
Trauma.
But this is huge right here, right? We've just spent the last 2 episodes finding out what his kryptonite is. And now we find out what will
safe.
guard him from it. And that's
These are
lead.
filler episodes, but we're getting the rules. They're still marking out the rules for us so that we can keep grounded and know that they're staying true to Superman, which, yeah, definitely now we know the lead works. And if you know nothing about Superman, hooray, now you know. Congratulations.
Lead and kryptonite.
They're the antithesis.
I never knew lead, so I learned something new.
Oh, I also noticed Lex, he wouldn't talk about the patron saint of the Boy Scouts unless he knew patron saints. So I'm guessing that Lex must be Catholic. So if any of you are excited about that, congratulations.
Yeah.
Lex might just be a Catholic.
Then we get to the school
Yep.
where Lana the seeds have been planted with Lex, and she confronts Whitney and was like, can I have my necklace back?
And his truck overturned, and he just
And
has a Band-Aid on his...
exploded.
and he has a Band-Aid on his
Yeah,
cheek.
but remember, Clark saved him. Another girl might have screamed at him. Her quiet, like...
Is worse.
I don't know if your parents ever did this to you, but this to me was like the worst. When they looked at you and they just went, I'm disappointed in you. And you were
Yeah.
like, why didn't you just yell at me, please?
yeah.
And instead,
Spank
disappointed.
my butt.
Oh,
So
boy.
she's looking at him. She's like, yeah, I'm disappointed in you.
Well, the
and
thing
just-
is, she knows she has all the power.
Right.
Oh,
So
yeah.
there's no point in her being like, what? Because that's what he's doing, is like, I have to hold on to you. I have to hold on to you. And she's like, no, I'm feeling this way, straight up.
She clearly knows how to put him in his place and make him feel the pain that she thinks is necessary for him to either change or get away. And then, man, she just takes the whole creepiness with Bug Boy so well.
Well, because he confronts her and he's like, I've been waiting for you. Her bad. She really should have texted him or called him or met him up. I don't know, whatever. And he's like, I've been waiting for you. And she's like, I'm really sorry. Something came up. Kind of vague. Not a great excuse. But then he pushes and she's like, you know what? No, I'm busy. Stop.
Mm-hmm.
So, not to make our entire conversations about Nell, but there is a lady that raised Lana, and she's very direct, as
Yes.
we experienced in episode 1.
That's true. She
Sounds
probably...
like she's probably the one that taught Lana
Yeah.
how to handle these
No
dudes
means
and how
no,
to put them
and how
in
to-
their place.
Yeah. Because if you can manipulate a millionaire, I mean,
Sell him your land.
I wonder if there's a Reddit somewhere that like talks about Nell and Lionel Luther.
this might
That'd
be
so
an
funny.
exclusive.
I like it.
Remember when we talked about in the last episode how kryptonite affects Clark and it makes his blood boil? Well, in this episode we got to see it. We get to see like how it
Yeah.
makes
What'd
his
you think of
veins get
that?
all weird.
I loved it. You literally see it go through his veins.
And it's green and like
Yeah.
painful.
Oh, and you see it just like
And then
shriveling his hand.
I love when you
and-
see his hand go back to normal.
Mhm.
I know.
So good.
So the next cute thing is Lana actually comes to the barn for the first time ever.
And Kim just doesn't believe
And
it.
I didn't believe it. And then it ended, and I was like, oh, it was true. So he's like, we've lived next door to each other forever, and you've never come and seen me before. What's going on? So I thought that was cute.
And I love that, you get the foreshadowing of his fortress of solitude.
I know. Well, I love that it goes, my dad built it. It's
Yeah.
the Fortress of Solitude.
I know. His
Because
dad
his
builds
dad
it.
built the Fortress of Solitude. The Fortress of
I
Solitude.
didn't even. Oh, that's amazing. Okay.
Yeah, there's
I love
just
that.
So much symbolism.
I
It's
just love
great.
the sincerity of Clark and Lana's conversation in there, right? This series does this quite a bit, but I really do love that he's able to just come out and say, like, hey, we've been neighbors and
Yeah.
you've never been here. So, yeah, not that I don't want you here, but why? And I feel like a lot of series will stray away from that because it is a little uncomfortable. That's a real conversation that you'd have.
Well, it's very mature
so-
for 14-year-olds.
Yeah. Of course it is, but that's,
That's TV for you.
I do tip my cap to it. That's a really great writing in that moment, I think.
Yeah.
And I would be remiss if we did not talk about the telescope.
Oh my gosh.
So Lana says, oh, you think you can see my house from here? And Clark's like, I don't know. And then he like moves the telescope because clearly it was pointed right at our house.
Yep. He had forgotten to point it back at
Even
the sky.
though when he walked in, she was looking in it.
I know. Well, she's just too
boy.
nice.
We also get in this scene another little plot thing. We now know that this green rock on her necklace is the meteor rock that fell with Clark. So now he's finally understanding, oh, so this stuff makes me sick.
Also, it's from the piece that
Killed her
destroyed her
parents.
parents.
Just obliterated
Bullseyed them.
That's a bit morbid, I'll be honest.
Why don't I just
Well, she
wear
says,
that?
what does she say? She says,
All the bad luck has already happened, so there's probably only good luck left in it.
yeah, she says
Right.
that to Whitney in the first episode, but in this one she says, sometimes it's beautiful, sometimes it's painful, but most of the time it's both.
Yes, and I loved that quote.
All I'm saying is this would be like similar to Batman Bruce Wayne deciding to wear a bullet.
Seriously.
Or
on
like
a necklace.
one of the pearls of his
Like
mom.
a tie
one of his
clip.
mom's. But the pearls didn't kill her. It'd be one of the bullets. So it'd be like, I'm just going to keep this bullet that went through and passed through it. And you're like, okay, buddy. It's a little dark.
Speaking of dark, the next scene,
Oh
the
my gosh.
molting scene.
Back to Bug Boy. He is in the shower and his skin is molting off. I died. And the skin is going down the drain.
Oh, it's not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just love
Clogging the
I love that
drain.
it's like clearly like steel wool.
That he
he's
grabs to
scrubbing.
like scrub it. And what a good little practical effect,
And
honestly.
Yeah.
kudos to the makeup people because I believe it.
I know, right?
Oh.
Like, it's very well done.
Listen, all of us watching together, and I'm here to tell you there was definitely some gagging noises happening to watch that. So if you have a weak stomach and you haven't seen this yet, this may be a moment to just kind of, peek through your eyes just a little bit to get through
Check
the
your
scene.
email.
Yeah, they do get pretty morbid with it, which goes back to that whole Buffy vibe, or it kind of reminds me a bit of like a little bit of Supernatural early seasons vibes. If you've ever watched that, just kind of the horror
Yeah.
aspect. That's fun.
Yep.
So Bug Boy has eaten, molted.
Now
What's next?
he's got to find a mate, but he's got to get rid of the
Everything that
competition.
stands in his way because he went to talk to Lana in the stairwell and she said, I have to go talk to Clark.
And he's like,
So
ew.
he-
So
Clark.
therefore,
That's
Clark
a
is
threat.
enemy number one. So we get this barn scene, which I find almost unnecessary.
Yes. I thought the same thing.
I didn't love it.
I just feel bad for the cultivator. It gets
If
all
it-
bent and
I
broken.
know.
That's
Okay,
money that they now
so
have
we
to spend
know
to fix
that, like,
it.
well, that's what I'm saying. Like the Kents, it's well known that money is a struggle. Well, no wonder.
Stop sticking your arm in a.
Well, wood chipper's broken.
Wood
Now the
chipper.
cultivator's broken.
Hey, listen, he could bend it back.
And then I just love that when they like inspect the ceiling and you see like the greeny goopy.
Where did that come
Footprints.
from?
What
What
It reminded
animal
me
just
of
leaves
Nickelodeon.
super
I
sticky?
know,
The
right?
greeny goopy shoe print.
Yeah.
Because his shoe apparently was leaking juices.
Or he was regurgitating like a fly and
Ooh,
stepped in it. I don't know.
gross.
Oh.
He did just eat
disgusting.
recently and he's like all kryptonited up. So who
He's
knows?
sweating out his mom's ooey gooey.
Oh my.
Oh, man.
Congratulations,
So
Kim. Now this
gross.
episode has to be explicit. Just kidding.
I'll let you decide what ooey gooey means.
Oh man. How do we like show that he was here? Let's have glowy
Like
green.
evidence?
Yeah.
I think maybe them both seeing him would work.
With plenty.
I have a problem, okay? So in the first episode, his dad tells him that he's an alien.
Yes.
And shows him his cocoon. And it's never spoken of again for a couple episodes. I don't know, even longer. I'm angry about it.
Okay, well, what's crazy is literally in the barn, as after they're dealing with the bug boy, Clark says, well, all this weird stuff is happening and it's my fault because of the meteor shower. The meteor shower is what brought me. And Jonathan goes, no, it's Luthor Corp. They're doing fertilizing. It's their fault. So he immediately like, no, I don't want to talk about it.
Right. He's like, no way, man. It's the Luthor Corp pouring all the chemicals.
Wouldn't you be taking your cocoon apart and like
I love that you call it a cocoon.
whatever?
It's a spaceship, Kim.
It's a pine cone for now, but it will become a spaceship later.
It's all of the above.
I feel bad for Clark because just the weight just piles on him.
Okay, but I have another problem with this, and they do this, but I have an issue with it, even with what we've discussed. We talk about it being Clark's fault, and he's like, it's my fault. I'm like, hold on, buddy.
He doesn't
You
know.
came here as a 3-year-old. Were you flying this ship? No.
Did you
have
make
n-
the meteors come
have
with you?
no idea. And so, as fans, we know what's happened, right? To get him here, It wasn't his call.
He's clearly
It's
struggling to
main character.
compartmentalize his arrival from the disaster.
Sure,
Right.
and he comes with it for sure.
Mhm.
But to put it on yourself, you're like, I don't think you made any decisions here. You were too young to make that choice. So it wasn't when he's like, it's my fault that this happened. You have no idea why this happened.
No, he doesn't.
Mhm.
But I think as a teen, you have that main character syndrome where like everything is your fault. Everything is
Mhm.
about you.
That's true.
And in a way, it is,
That
especially
is-
Smallville. But Clark, he can't see beyond.
Beyond himself, that sounds like
No.
a teenager, actually.
it's
you
true.
know.
As a parent, I can tell you that's
Mm-hmm.
Pretty accurate.
Speaking of teenagers, Clark and Chloe, they're so cute. I'm always rooting for Chloe, even though I know what happens and everything. Like,
You secretly hope they end up together.
right, I know that Lana Lang has to come along, and we have to have some kind of satisfaction there. You know that. Nobody's stupid. And then you also know that Lois Lane has to be the one he ends up with. But you just kind of wish that Chloe and Clark could be together because they do have really good chemistry on screen, and they're a lot of fun. And I love that Chloe's always kind of pushing Clark. She just really sees what's going on, and then she pushes Clark to join her and help her and bring her in. And that's necessary because he needs her. It takes her so long to figure that out.
She's like his greatest cheerleader. I can see that in the future. And she always pushes him to be his best.
Mm-hmm. She's probably the reason he becomes a journalist,
Well,
right? Because
absolutely.
he latches onto that spirit of hers, which is so curious.
To
and,
investigate and to find out the truth.
Mhm.
Because, I mean, right now, you know that in the quiet moments, he's thinking, I'm an alien. I'm an alien. I'm an alien? I'm an alien.
Oh, man, I'm an
Or-
alien.
My pine cone.
Hold on. Was I abducted by an alien and
Right.
then I was sent back?
He doesn't
Oh.
know
Because they
that
didn't
either.
want me.
True.
What's his headcanon telling him? I don't know.
That's true.
You never know.
So, Kim, what do you think of Chloe's always wearing green and her green eyeshadow?
I know. Why?
I don't know.
That's the color of kryptonite.
Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun, dun.
I keep writing in my notes, Mystery Inc. is on the case. You know, like the Chloe, Pete, and
Yes.
Clark get
Well,
together
that's
and
perfect.
they
Solve mysteries.
And they break the law because
A lot.
next they break into Bug Boy's house.
well, they don't break anything. The window was open
They
technically.
sneak in, which is fine.
So
I think it's
trespassing.
I
great.
think when
I
you're
would do
when
it.
you're 14 and if a cop up, you say, I don't know. I'm
My
just
friend
14.
didn't come
How
to
we
school.
got here, even though we can't drive, I don't know, but here we are.
We're friends with a cop, and he's probably listening to this, being like, "No, guys, shut up." We should bring Jeff on and have him analyze it.
Analyze the laws.
Just be like, how many laws were broken in this episode? We gotta
Yeah,
find a
If
good
you
one.
find skin in the shower drain,
Right.
what do you do?
Exactly. Oh my gosh, and I do love that line where Clark's like, "Maybe the bugs decided to revolt."
Yeah. Well, they really go from like, it's this kid. Let's explain how he is the way he is now. And they get there. About 100% accuracy.
They're just putting stuff together. Like they've already had some kryptonite experiences. They don't know what it's called. They've had meteor rock experiences, I should say. And they're just all hot on that, you know?
Oh, yeah. By the way, Clark doesn't know that it's called kryptonite. It's
Right.
meteor rock.
Uh-huh.
He doesn't know anything.
He doesn't know it's from his home
gosh,
planet, that
yeah,
it's irradiated
course.
home planet rock,
He
you
doesn't know
know?
any of it.
Oh, good old Mystery Inc. I just love that they are always so good at solving the crimes.
For me, when you say solve crimes, I think of Mary-Kate and Ashley Olsen. We have to be home by dinner time.
Yes.
So true. Mystery Inc. found out that
Oh,
Bug
right.
Boy ate his mom.
Oh, and she
Oh,
pops
yeah.
out of the ceiling. I wanted to cry.
I loved it. It's like The Mummy with Brendan Fraser.
Yeah,
Oh,
that was-
so good.
Again, good job on the horror.
He sucked her
things.
dry. She didn't go to waste.
Mhm.
At least she gave back to her son.
With her mommy juice.
I guess you've
Oh.
seen the movie Dune. Yeah, you suck them dry and don't
Yes.
waste anything.
Let's
I
not be
hear ya.
wasteful.
So after they leave Greg's house, we get
A
Whitney
scene. Yep.
apologizing.
They almost make up,
Right.
but not really.
Yeah.
Because Greg shows up and is like, I'm taking her with me.
Could you say that again? I liked it.
Get right in there.
I'm taking her with me.
The best part of that is Nicole's 4'11", and
Her feet don't even touch the ground in this chair.
I can handle it. Yeah, so he shows up and we know, what was this, yesterday? Maybe day before? That Whitney was attacked and was unconscious in a truck. Probably got a concussion. He's now knocked out again.
But just a Band-Aid.
That can't be good for his brain.
Mhm.
He plays
brain
football.
trauma.
CTE's already
So
on the
more of
radar.
it.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yep.
It's
totally
all
great.
making sense.
But like for just a second, you think Clark and Whitney are going to work together.
I
They're
wrote-
going to drive
I
together
literally
to
wrote
go.
that in my notes. It's like they're going to work together. No, they
But then
don't.
Clark does his disappearing act that becomes the common
He
trope.
would never leave Lana for longer than he has to, especially if he can speed run to her.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You see it over and
Well,
over again.
I
but-
will say, good on Clark for telling the truth about where
To go.
he has to go.
Mhm.
He's not just saying, "I don't know, you figure it out." Bye.
Or like, go to Greg's house. I bet I took her there.
Yeah.
You know.
He's actually willing to tell the truth, which is good on Clark.
That treehouse was like 40 feet in the air.
And they talk, so when they talk about it earlier, and Clark potentially having a fear of heights, but also being there as kids, I look at that and I'm like, I'm terrified of that as an adult. I don't know how you're just letting all these 7-year-old boys just, go ahead and hike up there 50 feet in the air and see how it hangs
I
out.
totally did that as a kid. I
Next
had
to
a
the
friend
abandoned foundry.
I had a friend with a treehouse that was pretty high up that we'd
And pretty
go
rickety.
up into. We'd go up there and we'd have airsoft wars out of it and all kinds of
We
stuff.
did all
It's a-
sorts of
It's
things.
a good
but
time.
That treehouse is shady.
It's probably more shady now. It's been a few years, probably
That's
since it was
fair.
built.
And they fall from it, both of them.
Yeah.
And they fall far.
Bug Boy pushes Clark out the wall.
And there's Lana just unconscious. Did he bite her with like Shelob's juice? What? Why is
she
she?
does kind of look like
Shelob's juice.
Why is she unconscious?
Because she's trapped in the web, which has...
Sleepy property?
Don't make this up, Brett.
I'm totally making something up. It's got a certain aroma from
Lavender.
the spider
No, maybe his saliva
out of the
has.
glands.
Maybe his saliva is like
the
laced
glands
with.
from the spider has trapped in there that keeps Lana asleep at rest, waiting for him.
That's true because she immediately wakes up upon.
As soon as it
Oh,
opens,
I'm
as-
awake.
Maybe, just maybe, his farts are just noxious and knock people out.
Oh no! What animal does that?
I don't know.
It
A
is
stink bug?
The dung beetle.
the buffalo dung beetle.
Great.
I love when we get to the foundry and Clark's in there. He's starting to look weak, and you see this big old pipe on the ground. And the pipe to me just looks a little too clean to be like one of those background props. I'm like, I wonder if they're going to use the pipe to hit someone with that. And lo and behold,
Immediately.
3 seconds later, wham!
Clark, indestructible. A little bit of rocks. I'm done. It's just like he's like I just feel bad for him because he's like I'm gonna go save nobody.
well, I mean, it's radiation. It sucks,
I
man.
know,
So
and
it
if
interacts
all
with his
your blood is boiling, that can't feel good.
But the first time I watched this, I was almost annoyed with it in the episode because I felt it was almost too
It's so on and off.
structured.
It's so on and off.
and you're just like, I know he's gonna run into meteor rock or kryptonite, right?
Right.
And then be weak, and that's it. But what I actually really enjoy, and it's all about his development here, is that he has to find other ways. It's not
Right.
just because of his strength. And this is one of the things, with my experience with this series, is that Clark Kent as Superman has all these incredible abilities. And it's like, why is he not always saving the world? And then he does end up saving the world. Clearly he does. But he had to learn how to do it without just using his powers, which makes his powers such an extra and above. It's not his powers that make him special.
Right.
And you find this throughout so many things, that those powers in anybody else's hands are something different. But him, because of how he's had to experience this kryptonite and the pain and figuring out other ways to solve it, finding out who did things and what that villain is, that is what makes Clark Kent the true superhero.
Yes. And I love in this, he figures out that there's lead and he identifies where all the lead is, and then he stays around it so that he can fight on his own terms.
And he doesn't have to do much
Right.
because that Greg kid, bugs aren't that smart. And he pulls a lever
And he gets
and crushes
squished.
himself, which somehow means he's made of bugs.
Yeah, like the mummy, right?
Right, but
Well,
it
it
doesn't
makes you
make
wonder,
any
like,
sense.
Is he dead? That's not technically a dead body. And technically, if you don't see the dead body,
They're not dead.
they're not dead.
And those bugs are now so dangerous if somebody were to collect them.
Maybe it's like Sandman, he'll put himself back together.
It's so weird.
After that, Whitney gets to the treehouse and he gets to save Lana, and Clark just has to watch. He doesn't get to be her savior.
But that's
Whitney
better.
now thinks that he just ran off and everything. It's good because it gives him a chance to think through, well, I still want to save the day for her. I still want to do something for her. And so that explains why he then goes and gets the box and decides to give it back to her, give the necklace back to her.
But you'll notice Greg is smushed and Clark goes, huh, and leaves.
It's true. He doesn't seem to, he's just like,
Literally.
okay. Although Greg probably didn't feel human anymore. I mean, he sucked his
Well, no.
mom dry.
True.
He squished a bug. It wasn't really a person at that point.
Yeah.
True. But still.
No, it's a person. Let's be honest.
But still. Let's say there's a kid I hadn't seen from my high school days. It's been a long time. Haven't seen anybody from high school. And then suddenly I am fighting them and they're smushed.
And
I would have
murdered.
feelings.
there would be feelings there for
Mhm.
sure.
It's true. They do tend to bounce back when the villain bites it. And this is now the second time in a row that the villain defeats himself.
I know.
That does tend to happen in these, villain of the day episodes.
Especially when Clark's, we're saying 14.
What would he do? I think it's good to keep Clark from having to make
We don't want him
decisions.
murdering people at the tender age of
Mhm.
14.
Yeah, no, well, it's
True.
Superman. You can't make it like, man, he is a mass murderer. Like,
You don't
count up
shave,
his
you
kill
don't murder.
count.
We have rules.
So the show is going to help him by letting the villains kind of off themselves until he can figure out, he can grow up a bit and actually
Find a middle
defeat
ground.
them without killing them,
Yeah.
right?
Well, happily for Whitney, I think him saving her puts them in good graces again. And then Clark gallantly decides to give Lana the necklace, which she assumes Whitney gives her. And so she's like, oh, Whitney. The end. that's the sound her face made. I don't know what to tell you. So she has her necklace back and she does a weird hand, got it. She's
Yeah.
happy to have her necklace
Got
back.
him.
Which is sad for Clark because now he's gonna be all loopy doo around her again.
Mhm.
But
That's annoying.
worth it because it's a long play. This is a long series. They can't just get together right away.
No.
They're gonna
Will
make
they
us
get
work
together?
for it.
Will they get
Won't
together?
they?
Won't they?
Does she just marry Whitney
If
right
they
out of
do,
high school?
Does it last?
Does she marry Pete Ross?
Does she marry a werewolf? A vampire? Does she get pregnant on their honeymoon? Oh wait, wrong movie.
Definitely the wrong movie.
But we did have a spider monkey moment.
We
Okay.
did.
Listen, if we were doing a comparison to Twilight, there are some references we're gonna see in this.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because guess what? When the vampires shimmer, there's a sound. Same with kryptonite.
It's the
So
same.
true.
Mhm.
That's where Stephanie Meyer got it. She watched Smallville, listened to Muse, and was like, shimmering vampires.
Yeah.
Love it.
That's the
Mhm.
one.
So good. And that is episode 2 of Smallville. It's called Metamorphosis. What do you guys think?
Is
Brett?
it super or man, Brett?
Oh, I'm gonna go with a man on this episode. There are highlights. There's good things from it. Not saying it's bad, but overall together, this is a man episode.
It's a filler, and that's okay.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm going to go with man because you get a couple of things that you would know if you're watched Superman, the lead, and then the kryptonite is the meteor rock, right? But outside of that, meh.
And I think all the kryptonite was his man coming out, right? Like he couldn't use his powers, and so it was very man. I agree.
I don't think that being kryptonited is necessarily an indicator of man. It's just how they do it. And this is one of those early episodes where it's like, okay, he was weak and luckily there was some lead, so bye-bye, you know?
Yeah. It's like, well, that was handy. Good thing that random thing of cement was lead lined.
That random broken
That was
down
just
bathroom
big enough
stall.
for me to hide
Well,
behind.
it was a foundry. The chances of there being lead in a foundry is pretty dang high.
Mm-hmm.
So
Especially a lead-lined pipe.
yeah.
But overall, I like the episode. Because I have the nostalgia of being 13 years old, 14 years old. Because if it's 2001, I was 11, and I didn't watch it. Like I know there was at least 3 or 4 seasons that we owned before I started, so I was probably 13. And for a 13-year-old, that slaps. Is that what the kids say these days,
That's
or
what
is
the
that
kids
is that
say.
outdated already?
I
don't know.
As of today, I don't know.
I have no idea. I loved it. Like I was always like that song at the beginning. I was like, it's so edgy,
Oh yeah.
and
And the music was great in this one.
Yeah, so
Mhm.
our music for the episode,
Mhm.
Last Resort by Papa Roach.
love it.
Yeah, I gotta love that one. There's actually, I'm gonna give a shout out to this one. I didn't play, but on the back of Greg's door there was a Californication by that Red Hot
Yeah,
Chili
that's
Peppers.
true.
And give a call out there. Obviously, we talked about the intro. We get to hear Save Me by Remy Zero.
Mm-hmm.
Then there was also Island in the Sun by Weezer.
I love at the farmer's market.
Yeah, get a
So
little one in
good.
there. And then closing out the episode, it was Wherever You Will Go by The Calling.
So
Very good.
good.
Seriously, I mean, it makes me, probably dates me, at least for all the young ones. I love this music.
It takes me to a place for sure.
This is a special thing.
So, do we have a teaser for next week's episode?
We do.
And then one more thing on the music is that Mark Snow composed all of the No. John Williams wrote the Superman music.
What did I say?
I was trying to talk about Mark Snow.
Who's Mark Snow?
You're He's the
Hey,
composer.
wait, hold on. We want to hear. Tell us who Mark
Start
Snow
again.
is.
Mark Snow composed the music for Smallville seasons 1 through 6. So all the music that you hear that isn't,
That's like the background, like opener, closer.
they had the rights to John Williams' Superman music, and he would tweak it and use it here and there and like adjust themes and stuff to
Sure.
intersperse John Williams' classic Superman music throughout the show. So every time you're watching this, just remember that like that was one of the other little details that is just so great about the show is that we get that Superman theme, and you start to get it a lot more in later seasons as he does more like big time
Superman
heroic things, because like this is super small time, but
He didn't even do anything. That guy killed himself.
right.
That's a
But he
beautiful
wouldn't have
nugget.
unless Clark showed up.
Comment which bug's your favorite.
Yeah.
Is it that mommy eating spider?
The Pharaoh spider.
Oh, is it the
The buffalo ant that can hold
that
and
one?
throw something
In
15
lift-
times its weight.
Or
Yeah,
the
some-
green butterfly.
yeah?
Or the Volkswagen Beetle.
Or is it Greg Arkin?
Yes.
Pick your favorite.
He is Bugs because he turned. Never mind.
Thanks for remembering Smallville with us. Join us next week when
It rains.
Lana digs into the past.
And Clark gets stuck in a box.
Bye! Thank you so much for listening. If you have trust issues, like I do, please like, comment, and subscribe.